Hi, sweeties. How are you doing? Welcome to Cimnanya, and thank you, Onaya Sim, and thank you all so much for all the love and support. Hope you all are doing great. So today we'll be talking something very important, and it's about this man who actually, I think he's a professor or something that opened up some certain things people actually did not know, or maybe a lot of people do know it. And he was like, they were like, why did George Bush attack Iraq and all that? Some were like, it was because Netanyahu asked him to attack and all that. And then what the emphasis and all that he made was like, it's more like what happened, Israel did to Palestine and all that. How they were like, when some certain things starts, what the government and all that, especially US, what they instruct to do is that they cut off some of the social amenities, maybe like for the children, they might cut off their drugs, water, electricity, food, and all that. So you can imagine when a country starts lacking some certain things, water, electricity, drugs for the kids, and all that. What happened? A lot of people start dying and the rest of it. A lot of people were like, you all already know that US has really been a terror and all that. I mean, you understand what terror and all that. They have been, tormenting a lot of people on the ground. And if you look around, most of the things that is going on, most of the countries that are having crisis and all that, if you check back and look back, you find out that US is part of the people doing what they are doing. Israel also, and so many of them. You know what? Let's get into this.
So, Gore surrenders. I turned to my wife and I said, George Bush Jr. will attack Iraq right now. She goes, what? Where did this come from? And I go, he's an illegitimate president. Everybody knows it. He has to make himself legitimate. The only way to make yourself legitimate in this moment is start a war. There's nobody in worse shape than Iraq. Because by that point, we had imposed catastrophic, brutal, cruel, inhumane crimes against humanity sanctions on Iraq. Sanctions that made what we did to apartheid South Africa look like a joke. We cut off their food. We never cut off South Africa's food. We cut off their medicine. Who cuts off the medicine? We were going to grind Iraq into the dirt. And we were going to do it by literally strangling them and starving them. Madeleine Albright, Secretary of State for Bill Clinton. This is before she becomes Secretary of State. She was already in the Bill Clinton administration. She's interviewed by 60 Minutes. There are like 4 years, I think it was, I want to say it was 96. Don't quote me on the year, it might have been 95. I recently wrote something about this and I can't remember the year. She's being interviewed on 60 Minutes, and I think it was Leslie Stahl. Leslie Stahl says, according to the UN, 800,000 Iraqis have already died because of the sanctions. So the sanctions have already been in effect for 5 years. 800,000. It's more than 100,000 a year. And then Leslie Stahl says, and according to the UN, 500,000 are age 5 and under. We'd literally killed 500,000 babies already. Why? Because they invaded Kuwait? What were we gaining from putting these sanctions, these cruel, sadistic sanctions on Iraq? You're trying to get rid of Saddam Hussein by starving people to death? What are you doing? You're crippling the economy? How's that going to get rid of a tyrant? That makes the tyrant stronger. People are going to rally around the tyrant because now they're thinking, well, now we have to fight for this guy because you're killing us. Now we want vengeance. Now we have to defend the state against this foreign force that's doing this thing. And so Leslie Stahl goes, is it worth it? And Madeleine Albright goes, I wouldn't do it differently if I had to do it over again. It's ruthless. Instead of saying, yeah, this is clearly a big mistake. So by the time we get to 2000, Iraq is ruined economically. Its people are dying of diseases that are curable because they don't have any medicine, and they're starving to death, literally starving to death. And so that was the perfect place to attack, especially because I figured he would lie about the weapons of mass destruction. Because we were already lying about the weapons of mass destruction. So why not keep the lie going? So he didn't. His initial thing to do was to go after the People's Republic of China. He starts flying spy planes into Chinese-claimed airspace. By international law, nobody recognizes China's claim. They go way too far out into the water, and they're in international waters. And so what we do is we'd fly our airplanes into the international waters. We're on the right side. There's no two ways about it. China's claim is ridiculous. But we're also poking China in the eyeballs. So they responded. And they sent aircraft to intercept our aircraft. And they kept doing this. And they were playing chicken with our aircraft. They weren't just flying up and then flying next to. They were doing things like flying past the tail really close and buzzing the wing really close. And on one particular occasion, I remember thinking he's an idiot. He's going to start a war with China? What's wrong with this guy? And on one occasion, a Chinese aircraft hit the tail of one of our spy planes, causing pretty catastrophic damage to our spy plane. The Chinese aircraft goes in the water, the pilot dies. Our airplane is now forced to do an emergency landing. The nearest runway is in the People's Republic of China. And so we have to land one of our spy planes in the PRC. Talk about embarrassing. Oh. So then he backed off of China. And I was like, phew, phew. Wow, that was close. And then 9/11 happened. And I was like, wow, Osama bin Laden must be on George Bush Jr.'s side. He just handed him the best gift ever, because now he'll rally the people. He has his war. He doesn't need to make up a war. He's got his war. It was just given to him. So, Gore surrenders. I turned to my wife and I said, George.
This gentleman, listen to his sketch. He talked about President Bush. I don't know if he's talking about Bush Jr. and Sr. because they were both self-destructive, okay, for both domestic and international. But he's talking about the attack that happened towards, I'm assuming it was Junior, with the attack that happened in Iraq or Iran. Well, moving right along, he said Bush was illegitimate, meaning that he was a misfit when it came to the president. He had a lot of incompetencies. And it's the same thing with Biden. So Biden had made many promises to the whole nation with the student loan, the tax cut, the helping, the this, the that, building up the economy, the infrastructure, and all that stuff. Trump did the same thing too. But what this whole entire dilemma that happened, where they had to create a war and try to make it as a blind eye and not make people put in because right now we're in a war, okay? No matter how people want to have a ceasefire or whatever, we're in a war because all nations are divided and they're not together, okay? For the first time, certain nations that was under certain nations I want to get up out of the under and no longer wants to be underneath. They rather be on top and want everything to be economically on top. So now people are starting to wake up. Countries that never colonized before, now they opening up the doors of the ones who were colonized. Okay? So what do you think they're going to have? They're going to make a war. So from a legitimate president, which we had from Trump and Biden, what do you think they're going to do? They're going to start a war. And what do you think what just really happened? Even if Biden's no longer running for 2024 going into 25, and it so happened, let's say it's Trump or any other Republican, Trump is going to have to continue on what Biden had done. So it doesn't make any difference. So when you look, you have to pick the worst of the evil. You have to take the little of the evil because they're both worst of the evil. So you have to look at the good over the bad. And most likely, because Biden wants to feel like he's legitimate, he turned around and started this whole entire thing and side with the Israelites. And even now starting to get greater war and make a greater expansion. Okay, first they want to use the Ukraine. That wasn't so successful. Now they're using the Israelite. Now they're going into Iran and Yemen and many other places. What do you think? So listen to this man's sketch. He this gentleman, I think he's a professor or a lecturer or something like that. That's why the higher learning teaches you more the fundamentals of the American history, the politics, the civil law, everything. And with their lectures within that self, they give you a breakdown. So this, what he says, makes sense.
So this is all I got from this video. And like, there are some things you cannot listen and you are like, why did some certain things happen and the rest of it? And why did George Bush, like, why did he attack that somewhere? Like, because Netanyahu asked him to do it and all that. I mean, it's really time people start knowing anyway. I am sure so many people really know what has been happening and what is going on and all that. And if you look at around what is going on right now in this very modern, like it's presently today, you are going to understand also what is going on and how they are using Israel at this point in time to do some certain things and all that. And from what he said, he was like, how many are they? When something like this starts and all that, what do? They try to cut off some certain things, all the necessity, all the things people need. I mean, the essentials. It's just like cutting somebody's medication and all that. What do you expect from that person? The person will probably people will go through a lot of things. It's just like what is still happening, or what Israel did to Palestine when they cut off water, cut off electricity, cut off food, cut off like almost everything. I mean, all the things, social amenities people need to live their lives were all cut off at some point. So yeah, this is more like it. It looks like history has a way of telling their own thing. And sometimes if you are not able to catch it, you might not be able to catch it. But when you catch it, you understand what has been going on and all that. So this just described the section of like what has really happened in so many places. Not just only so many, even Congo too. So this is what he talked about, describes so many things that is going on all over the world. And the speaker, did a great job with his analysis and all that. So yeah, well tailored. He did a great job. So if you really have something you want to talk about on this, why not feel free to let me know in the comment section. Thank you so much and see you all in my next video.